I was going to say that SEO with Fat Joe is as peaceful as this, but then the birds are all having fights.
Did you know that Google personalizes many searches by city, and Also Asked is the only tool to access live People Also Ask data at city level? Try for free at alsoasked.com.
Tired of SEO guesswork? Quadra's AI agent goes deeper to uncover high-impact optimizations and completes hours of SEO in minutes. Get started now.
All right, hands up if you've never seen me speak before. Oh, a lot of you. This is my 11th year speaking at Brighton SEO. I've never missed one. So I've been here a lot. I speak all over the world. The people that have seen me know that this is not really the title slide, right? Because that's the real title slide. We gotta have the movie stuff in here, right? Okay, before I start, I do need to ask, put your hand up if you think that you are like a spreadsheet, Excel, sheets, whatever, expert. Okay, all of y'all, the people that kind of put their hands up embarrassed, they're just in here to see the movies and watch me say stupid shit, right? How many people in here feel like you don't really know how to be more advanced in spreadsheets? All of you. Okay, this is gonna be fucking awesome. So, she already introed me. I do like to point out, it won't matter for this one because I won't have links, but I do have a weekly video series that I've been now doing for 10 years across multiple agencies. You can check it out at our blog right there. It comes out every Tuesday. It'll come out in the afternoon for you over here because it comes out in the morning in the States. That's a fun picture of me speaking at MozCon a few years back. I love this picture, except it's really weird now to see that I don't have tattoos on my hands or fingers or my left arm, so I gotta update it. But I speak at a ton of conferences. 2 years ago, I spoke at 32 conferences. Last year was just 16. I'm trying to cut back. But a lot of the stuff that I do is a vertical specific conference where I'm speaking on stage to get leads. And a lot of times, because in the States, you have to pay to play. Like I've paid $25,000 to talk to 15 people before, but I knew I was gonna get business out of it, so it was okay. But a lot of the competitors are gonna go and put a salesperson on stage, and they're not good at speaking. So typically the salesperson's gonna stand locked behind the podium like this. They're gonna talk really quick and quietly like this. It's really hard to understand what they're saying, and it's no fun, right? Even worse, they don't typically have a designer work on their slides. So there's no pictures, no colors, nothing there whatsoever. And even worse, it's just plain white background, black Arial font, and they pack every slide with bullet points, and they spend the entire presentation just reading bullet points. That's no fun, right? Those of you that haven't seen me don't realize there are actually scientific studies that have proven that bullet points kill kittens. So we're not gonna kill any kittens today. They're gonna all be safe. And then obviously you saw the movie thing there. As of 3 weeks ago, I now have 30 different movies tattooed on my body. So I was a film major in college. I love movies. I have over 1,200 movies in my iTunes library. I watch movies all the time. I love to share my love of movies with my love of digital marketing. So there's always a theme. Today's theme is comedy movies. We have at least one comedy movie for every year in the last 50 years. We have 24 movies from 1985, which was the golden year for American film comedy. I know a lot of you are gonna be way too young to have seen a lot of the older ones. So we've got attribution on the side, so not only will you learn some kick-ass stuff about Google Sheets, you'll have a sweet list of movies to watch later. Who's excited? All right, so let's get this going. Why the long face? Are you one of those spreadsheet people that doesn't really understand how things work and you're always looking up to the person at your company that's the spreadsheet expert and you want to be that person? In fact, sometimes that person is so good you get really frustrated when you're looking up at them, right? Now, I know a lot of you are probably here today because you feel like you're clueless about how to use spreadsheets. Come on, that's the only laugh I get? That's a funny pun right there, yo. So I don't want to seem like I've got a huge head with its own gravity system, but I do have a lot of awesome tips. And unlike some speeches that you may have seen at other conferences in the past, I'm not going to sit here and talk out of my ass. I'm going to give you actionable stuff that you can immediately take home and use to be better with spreadsheets. Keep in mind, though, spreadsheets are not a magic pill solution. You have to understand how they work. Even with AI helping you with the code, you have to understand the base functionality of these spreadsheets to be able to use them correctly. And if you follow the tips that I share with you today, your spreadsheets are gonna look as awesome as the Flying Elvises. And I only have 16 minutes left, so just like a fat guy in a little coat, I'm gonna squeeze in a ton of stuff for you today. So, Every company always has that go-to person that if you've got a problem with Excel or Sheets, you're gonna go ask that person, right? Well, I've been that guy for the last forever. My spreadsheets are nuts. Everybody at work makes fun of me because they look so good. And I've got spreadsheets with formulas that are so big you can't even put them in one cell. So I have to split them between cells and connect them and do all of that stuff. So I've been Excel for years. And about 6 months ago, I made the switch. And now I think Excel sucks compared to Sheets. Sheets is so superior to it. And I'm gonna help you make that switch as well today. So it's really powerful and you can do some really cool shit. And he just showed you the stuff with the app scripting. That's awesome. That's part of the reason it's so amazing. But I'm always shocked to find out how many people in digital marketing don't really know how to use spreadsheets. I've asked people this week just to kind of gauge it and I'm like, hey, do you know how to use a VLOOKUP? And they're like, not really. Also, by the way, that's tattooed on my arm right there. Like, if you guys come back in like 2 years, I can just point to tattoos and make jokes and I won't have to have slides. So we all work with data. So we've got to understand how to use the advanced functionality to really be successful with using data. And sure, just like he said, we can use ChatGPT to answer these things for us and create these formulas. But if you don't understand how the functions work, how are you gonna know if ChatGPT's formula that it spits out is broken? And if you don't understand how the functions work, you can't create the right prompt for ChatGPT to build the thing correctly because you don't understand how things work. So you're gonna be much better off if you understand how everything works. Check that guy out right there. So today, also, that one's right here. Today I'm gonna give you a crash course. We've got 14 minutes left. I'm gonna go fast. That guy's on my arm right there. I've only got 20 minutes, except 14 really. So I'm not really gonna get into tactics. I'm sharing you the things that I use the most often on a day-to-day in Sheets. So don't stress out about taking pictures of the slides. I'm gonna give you a Google Sheet that has every single thing that I talked about today with a menu page that lets you link to stuff, examples, syntax explanations, and everything. Also, who's excited about the new Spinal Tap movie? Hell yeah, it's gonna be awesome. So that QR code or that bit.ly link will give you the Google Sheets cheat sheet that I've created specifically for this event today. Grab it, check it out, look at it later though, because I want you to pay attention to me for the next 14 minutes. Now there's a really cool thing I did with this link. When you click on this link, it forces you to make a copy. Most of the time people share links to Sheets and then you just go, oh, well, I need to make a copy. When you put /copy on the end of the link to the spreadsheet, as soon as you pull it up, it immediately makes you take a copy of that instead of maybe editing in that one. In a shared environment at work where other people have permissions to edit those sheets and you need to share this with other departments, if you don't use the copy, somebody's gonna accidentally overwrite your shit and then your template sheet is gonna be fucked up for forever. Keep in mind too, I'm not gonna be giving you use cases. I'm not gonna say, here's this formula and here's how to use it. You guys can figure out how to use them. I'm constrained by time, so I'm just explaining how these functions work. And I'm gonna go really quick so I can squeeze in as much stuff as possible, and the stuff at the end is gonna blow your fucking mind. It's really cool. So I'm gonna start with the basics, and then we're gonna build up to it. So first, I am so surprised that most people don't know how to use paste format. Sure, you can use it in Word and you can use it in Google Docs, but pasting format is so much better if you've created some area in your sheet with a bunch of formatting and then you need to create a different page or a different tab or even a different sheet. Just go use paste format and it just instantly does all the formatting for you. I like to color code cells. Everything that I have at the office, if there is a formula in the cell, that's gonna have a lightly colored background color. That is a visual cue to everyone at the office. Do not type in this cell. You can only type data into cells that have a white background. It's a simple thing, but it's gonna really help you keep people at the office from screwing up the sheets that you spend all this time on. Oh, also, by the way, my entire leg is Goonies tattoos. So another thing, if you've got spreadsheets that continually add more and more and more data, you start to have these just massive sheets. Learn how to group rows or group columns because it makes things more easily visible. Like this, you're gonna have, once it's grouped, once you click the little plus sign, it expands down and it shows you that information. Then you can click minus and it goes back together. So if you're tracking things year over year, or month over month, you can have a massive spreadsheet, but you don't have to scroll down 15 times to get to the current date. Learn how to use conditional formatting. Conditional formatting will be your best friend. Seeing those colors really helps you identify patterns quickly. Understand though, when you have conditional formatting, if you have multiple conditional formatting rules that all apply to the same cell, it's a top-down system. The first rule that applies is the one that hits the cell. If other rules apply, they will not happen. And this gets really confusing if you haven't played with it a lot. So make sure the order of your conditional formatting statements is in the right order to apply the right formatting that you want to happen. You should know how to filter tables. Hopefully everybody knows you have the little triangle you click and you can select and filter things, right? Super easy. But when you give a sheet that you've built to someone that doesn't know how to do sheets, they don't understand how to do that filtering stuff, and you have to start telling them what to do and they get confused. So there's a really cool thing called data slicers that Google added in. It gives you a visual button. Also check, he's out right there. Data slicers, it's like a filter button, so it looks like this. Sure, I could have the little filter at the top, but instead, this gives you a visual button that you click it and then boom, it filters your stuff over here. It's super awesome. And also, when you're commenting on sheets, if you have a shared environment, if someone has their permissions set up correctly, when you leave a comment, then they're going to get an email. But if they don't have permissions set up correctly, they might not know that you're asking a question when you leave that comment. So this little trick here, if you add a plus before an email address when you're leaving a comment, as soon as you click save, Google automatically sends an email to that person, regardless of what their Sheets alert permissions are set to be. So it's really helpful. Another thing, you can link directly to any cell in a sheet. This is how I built the menu function on the first tab of that cheat sheet. So you right click on a cell and you have to go all the way to the bottom of the list, select more cell actions, and then there will be a get a link to this cell. Then you just drop it in as a hyperlink anywhere else and it lets you link directly to that cell. It's super cool. Also, you have got to learn how to use named ranges and named cells. It's so powerful when you're creating these really complex formulas. And I'm talking, I've got formulas that like fill up almost the whole screen, so then it's really complex if you come back later and try to figure out what's going on. So when you do that, it would turn a formula like this from B2 minus A2 divided by A2 into January's revenue minus February's revenue divided by January's revenue, which gives you the percentage increase in your revenue. So now all of your formula references look like this. It makes sense because it's in plain English. And if you were doing this and referring to cells that are on a different tab, it's also going to have the sheet name reference. When you do this, it doesn't have to have a sheet name reference because that is an absolute reference anywhere within the sheet file. So it's cool. Now, data validation is really cool. You add the drop down that you can select different things. A lot of people will just go in and create it and type it into the system, but you can actually do a data validation drop down from a range of cells that you have already created somewhere else. So I have one audit sheet that we've built that I actually did a talk about a year ago here that has probably 50 or 60 drop downs in it. So what you do is you create a library tab that lists all of these drop downs so that then you can go in and dynamically update these drop down sheets from that library instead of having to click onto each drop down and update each drop down. So what you want to do is list the name of what that range is going to be so you know how to select it. And if you're also going to partner with a VLOOKUP to then assess scores or do something else, use the same naming convention. So in this case, you would say home H1GEO and then all of this. The part that the drop down feeds from is just that bit there. But I know that when I'm creating the drop down, I say, do the drop down from a range. What's the name? Home H1GEO. But then if I'm going to use a VLOOKUP to assign scores, it's the same data, but now I'm doing this entire range, but same naming convention, home H1GEO range. So anybody that looks at it can understand what it is and update it quickly and easily. Formula parameters can get really confusing in the more advanced stuff. And if you haven't used VLOOKUP a lot, it'll explain in the platform how to do it. As you type it in, it starts to autocomplete. Just hit the little down caret and it pops out and it explains how to do the formula. But you won't need that because you're sitting in my class here today. Now, VLOOKUP. How many people in here don't know how to use VLOOKUP? Like you know what it does, but you can't just write the code yourself. Okay, and there's probably a lot of people that aren't putting their hands up. VLOOKUP is really common, and it lets you find a data point and then go across and find a corresponding data point. Now, it searches vertically, so you're gonna search in a column, and then it's backwards. So you search in a column, and then it looks for the other data this direction. You cannot search in a column and search this direction. So only this way and this. There is also a function called HLOOKUP. HLOOKUP looks horizontally and then down, but it can't go horizontally and up. Now, they can only go in one direction, so a lot of people will use index and match. I'm not gonna tell you how to do that. The cheat sheet tells you how to do it, but I don't wanna waste time. This lets you search in any direction and then search again in any direction, but there's a new function that got added in like a year and a half ago called XLOOKUP. This one is awesome because if you're using index match and something breaks and it can't find the data, you get the whole n/a exclamation point, which sucks. XLOOKUP has built-in error formatting in there so you can say, if this doesn't work, display this instead. It lets you search in any direction. It also has sorting functions. It's incredibly powerful. It's super kick-ass. So any direction, built-in search functions, built-in error handling. It's super, super cool. Now, other simple things that you're gonna figure out really quickly how you'd use this. Len is awesome. You say len to whatever the cell is. It just counts the number of characters and spaces in the cell. Super easy. If conditional statements, again, I know a lot of you probably know this, but you don't really understand how these things work a lot of times. Conditional statement evaluates a true or false condition and does something depending on which answer was displayed. The cell with data has 1, 2, 3. This says if that cell is greater than 100, say Greg rules. If it's less than 100, say Greg sucks. Well, it's more than 100, so it says Greg rules. That's how you use an if statement. You can also use the ifs statement, which has multiple statements tied together. Whichever statement is true first is what's going to be displayed. So it would look like this. In this case, I'm a big Pokemon fan. Pokemon right here, all listed out. You're saying for this cell right here, if it's greater than 90, print fast. If it's greater than 50, print normal. If it's less than or equal to 50, print slow. Boom. Classifies everything for you really quickly. Count formula is really great. It checks the range of cells that you've selected and tells you how many of those cells have a number value in them. If there's text, it won't be counted. If you want to count cells that just have something in it, you want to use count A. Count A will just count every cell that is not empty. Now you got to understand too that empty doesn't mean you can't see anything. Empty means there's not a formula, there's not a blank value, there's nothing there, completely gone. Some lets you add stuff together, we all know that. Some if is a conditional. You add these things together if the conditional statement is true. In this case, if it's a grass type Pokemon, add those numbers together, boom, the total speed, 185. Super easy. Concatenate lets you combine strings of text, so concatenate A12 plus a slash plus B12 lets me create the full URL from the root domain and the page hash. You can also use an ampersand to join text strings, does the same thing. So same thing here, you just put an ampersand instead. I do this more often than concatenate because it's just quicker to type. You can split out text strings based on a specified character with split. So like this, split the cell A11 on the slash. Now it's gonna pop out both of those pieces and break it back out. If you need to copy a formula that you've got to, like the Pokemon thing, right? I put the formula in the first cell, but I want that in every cell. You can cut and paste and paste and paste. Or just hit Control D or Command D if you're on a Mac. So it goes from that and it just, boom, fills everything for you automatically. Have you ever needed to copy something where you have columns of data with rows in there, but when you paste it in somewhere else, you want what's in a row to be the column heading and what's in the column heading to be a row? I know you're going, why would I ever do that? You'll need to do that at some point. When you right click to paste, if you select transposed, it flips the rows and columns. It's really powerful and it's cool. Unique shows you the unique values in a certain range. So in this case on my Pokemon list, I want to look in the types and say what the unique values are, and it just picks out the unique values. Okay, here's the thing. If you have a range of data and you're trying to find the last value in the range, you can do that if it's a static range. But what if you have something where like you're tracking organic traffic and every month you're putting a number in, and you need to calculate some other things based off whatever the most recent month was? It's pretty much hard to find that without using index. So use index to find the first value, and then use count A on that column to see how many items there are in there, and then the index formula can combine with count A and show you that final number there. It's super kick-ass. Now, app script, the last stuff. I've got a minute left. Oh my gosh, I gotta go fast. Import range lets you pull in data from other sheets. It's a big long thing like this. You just put in the URL and then you put in the tab number, it pops everything in. Why you'd wanna do this? If you have a shared environment and you wanna have data from another sheet and put it in, use import range. Once it's there though, you can't edit it, it will break the import. But if you have multiple departments looking at a piece of data and you're giving them different sheets, this lets you edit one single source of truth and the edits are fed out everywhere. Really cool if there's sensitive data. I have a budget sheet for the whole company that has everyone's salaries, but I need the salary cap tabs to be visible to each department, but they don't need to see the full sheet and see everybody's salaries. So I just import range just the salary cap tab and they can just see that. Okay, app script. Sometimes you wanna have actually printed on the page the last date that a sheet was edited, so you don't have to just go look at what the history was, or you may need to use this in a formula. This app script here, just don't even worry about taking pictures. You can get this off of the cheat sheet later. But this, when you edit where it is, it will drop in the last date and time that a sheet was edited. Alternating rows. In my budget, I've got projection, actual, and I've got a toggle button that turns those on or off. So this will toggle those rows. When you click the button, if they're visible, it hides them. If they're hidden, it shows them. This one's really cool. We have an audit sheet that I showed last time. I figured out an app script that now you can rename the tabs to whatever your range is specifically. So use this and add it to a button, and when you click the button, whatever's in that range, all the tabs are automatically renamed to whatever you put in those cells. This is the coolest last thing. I'm a little bit over time, but you gotta see this. So we have this audit sheet, right? Every time we save a copy of the audit into a folder, I have a roll-up report that pulls the data from that, so it's constantly updating everything. So this is really cool. This script, you read the cheat sheet thing, don't try to figure it out here, but whenever a new sheet gets added into that folder, it auto updates the main roll-up sheet and shows you all of that data. Sorry I went a little bit over time. Hopefully that was not too fast and painful. Now when you're looking at Google Sheets, you're not just gonna stare and drool, and hopefully you'll be really excited to work in Google Sheets. Peace out, that's the end. Thank you so much for watching. That's my email address. If you ever have questions, pop me an email and get the slides from Brighton because it has a list of all the movies at the end. Thank you.